By the way, thanks AMD for sponsoring this video.
I'm always looking for the best creator laptop, but when MSI reached out to see if we want to try the AMD Ryzen AI9 370HX powered laptop, I got interested because I got a peek at the spec list. And this is the same CPU that are used in some of the other very high-end creator laptops. But it's not just the specs that are interesting. The whole concept about this laptop got me curious. If MSI knows that this is a gaming laptop and we are creator focused channel, there's got to be a reason why they wanted to partner up with us. Perhaps that's why it's called Stealth. So I'm always excited to learn about the new devices, and this one, first impressions, very, very good. So this is the Stealth series box, and in terms of unboxing, you get the laptop and the charging block. When you look at the charging block, it actually gives away quite a lot of the performance of the laptop. So this one is 240 watts, which we can expect quite a beastly performance of this one. The connector looks like USB Type A, but it's not. And then there's the laptop. This is nice. Stealth, I can see that. It looks very minimal, boxy, yet slim. So you've got this kind of a black coated on the top there with the MSI Dragon badge. And then when we open it up, we can see the AMD Ryzen logo. Perhaps this laptop is more than just gaming, because this is the AMD Ryzen AI9 370HX, which we've seen in a lot of other creator laptops. It's got 12 cores, 24 threads. Inside the laptop, I'm actually quite happy to see a numpad on the side, because believe it or not, in my workflow, it is quite helpful. Another huge thing to note here is that this display is OLED, 240 Hz OLED display. Okay, let's not brush past the display so fast. This is an amazing display. It's 16:10 aspect ratio, 2.5K OLED display producing 240 Hz, yes, and that's 10-bit and 100% DCI P3 color space. On top of that, VESA Display HDR True Black 600 certified. So whether you're a gamer who likes fast refresh rates or a creator that requires 10-bit and large color space, it's a great display for both. When testing these two side by side, I don't actually believe that the MSI was going to be that good, but it is truly amazing. Okay, I wanted to see the display on the side. So what I have on this side is the MacBook Pro M4 Max 16-inch display. Display fully like max brightness. And then on this side, I've got the MSI Stealth max brightness as well. Look at these pictures side by side. OLED, mini LED, and the difference is absolutely insane. If you look at how much brighter and how much colorful this is a clear winner. Everything seems to pop so much more on the MSI. Now this is interesting here, that the bright bits of the image are actually brighter than on this side. You can see and how the green pops just a lot more. But then yet the blacks on this side and on there, they're completely black. I mean, this is still impressive from MacBook, but this, I mean, it is really a stunning display. I can't fault it. It's amazing. I'm gonna shut it down because, as like in a car, I wanna see under the bonnet first what's there, so really understand what we're taking a look at here. But before we do that, let's have a look at the ports. So on the side, we have headphone and mic combo jack, USB 4 Type-C port that also supports power delivery. Then we've got USB Type A port, 10 gigabits per second, and then we've got this, which is the power connector. It looks like a USB Type A, but it's a power connector. Then we've got vents out. Then on the other side, we've got another USB Type A, which is 10 gigabits per second, HDMI 2.1, 8K up to 60 Hz per second. And then this is an interesting one, 2.5 gigabit LAN. This is the first laptop that I will be able to just plug directly into our NAS. Usually I'm getting some kind of converter or dongle to get Ethernet. This is nice. And then finally Kensington lock on that side. In the back, there is nothing in here. Very stealthy in the back. We just have some fans. Let's take a look what's underneath then. Voila, I did it. So one of the things I'm noticing straight away, which is that the battery capacity is 99.99 watt hours. So they've absolutely maxed it out in terms of flight allowance in aircrafts. So this is the maximum one. We've got an M.2 SSD in here. There's a little protector cover on the top there. What you can see here is your Wi-Fi and Bluetooth chip, M.2 form factor. That is good because if you ever need to change it, it's easy to do. But this laptop already has Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth 5.4. Then on this side, we can see the dedicated GPU, I believe. And on this side, we have the CPU with the RAM or the actual power being cooled in there. No, this is the RAM in there. And if you look at the cooling design, how many heat pipes are in here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is it 1? No, there's another one there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 heat pipes. That is crazy. 2 fans blowing it out because you do have a dedicated GPU and then a CPU, both of them quite beastie options. Another thing I can see is there's a few speakers. There's 2 in the front, 2 on the side here, but then there's some on the other side as well. And this one has 6 speakers in total. Now, there's no real reason to open this up unless you want to upgrade your M.2 SSD, because you can add another M.2 SSD in there and then the RAM is already soldered in. So you don't really need to go through this process, what I've just done. So let's fire this beast up. Okay, we're on in here. Let's take a look at some more of the specs of this laptop. As you can see, the AMD Ryzen AI 9 HX370 with Radeon 890M
And neural processing unit.
We've got 32 gigs of RAM, 7,500 megatransfers per second. It's a 2 terabyte SSD. It's a Samsung one in there. Wi-Fi 7. The CPU actually has an NPU as well, which can come useful in some of the AI tasks. Integrated GPU and dedicated RTX 5070 Ti laptop GPU with 12 gigabytes of VRAM. So one of the first things I would like to do when getting a laptop to really put it through its paces is actually just kind of drag race it. And by that, I mean just the CPU and GPU. I want to see how well is it able to load the power, how much power are we pushing through, and are we thermally throttling? Is the laptop doing a good job cooling? We saw the 7 heat pipes there. Let's put them to test. So then, if you're new to this and you don't know how this works, this is Cinebench. This is something that creators would actually do. When they render their video 3D projects out, then often we have to use CPU, and this particular one, if you're using After Effects, then you probably know that this is in there as well. After Effects comes with Cinema 4D, which is this one, but Cinebench is basically just the benchmark version of that thing. It gives the CPU a lot of work to do, and then it tests how good the CPU is. And I've got all these sensors open on the other side there. So I'm just gonna press go on the multi-core score on the CPU, and then I wanna see firstly this bit here. So this is the CPU package power. How much power are we pushing through? 74 watts, something like that. Wow, it's actually keeping it very, very quiet. Now the fans are starting to come up here, as you can see, when we've hit about 80 something degrees. But the good news about that is if you are in your creative workload tasks and you just kind of get the CPU up very, very high temperature, it's not gonna just make the fans go woo, woo, woo. That's really annoying. So that's nice to see. But then looking at the thermal throttling in here, that's no. And what we wanna also see is making sure that the CPU package is not going down. I believe it still has some kind of a PL1 and PL2 limit, what we've seen on Team Blue, you know, where they've got the initial power and then it actually comes down, but we'll have a look. Just look at the temperature now, it's actually normalized. So it hit a peak of 88, but now they've found the fan speed and the cooling that just keeps it at 85 degrees. And if you think that is hot or that's, too much, honestly, just try Apple devices, then you'll see what hot means. They're running them at 100 and something degrees. That's a very good score. That's a very good score. Bear in mind, I'm monitoring this. So the monitoring, so that takes some of the CPU power, plus I'm recording, screen recording. Obviously, a lot of the encoding goes to on the GPU. So the GPU does the hard work. But to get that type of points, it's very, very impressive. Do you remember the Threadripper with 32 cores and 64 threads? This one is faster at so much lower power wattage. wait a second. In terms of multi-core score, this guy here gets a few percent lower score than the fastest gaming CPU, Ryzen 9800X 3D, which is just insane. Obviously, as a creator, I'm more excited about the multi-core performance because when you're rendering a video or your project, this will do a great job. And I'm happy to see that there was no dip in power. It just pushed through the same 75 watts all the way through. And when we're idling only at about 7 watts, something like that. Then there is also the GPU part. Let's take a look how much the GPU pulls and if it's able to keep this under good temperature. So as you can see, we're already encoding on the GPU and it's only pulling 18 watts. That is very, very good. So this is Firmac. Basically, it gives an endless graphic problem for the GPU to solve. And then basically we can see how much is the GPU pulling at absolute maximum and then see if it's able to keep this under wraps. Is it overheating? Are we throttling? Something like that. So we're pulling 105 watts. What throttling means is if it gets too hot, whether CPU or GPU, they're both very, very smart sensors and it's gonna just pull the power down. When there's less power, the heat goes down to keep it under, without melting it. But if the cooling is good enough, it's just gonna push that same power all the way through. So right now we're pulling 105 watts just shy, and let's take a look if it can keep up with it. Let me tell you why the 5070 Ti is an amazing choice for a laptop like that. The 5070 Ti has basically everything you want from a 5080, yet at a much lower price point, especially when you're a creator and we're thinking about the encoders and decoders. The new NVIDIA 50 series encoders and decoders are the best in the world. So if you're doing any video editing, that's absolutely amazing. 72 degrees and pulling 105 watts. As you can see, we've normalized now here, is not going any higher, and we're 72 degrees. Well, so far what I've concluded is that the cooling performance can keep up with both of them. The CPU and GPU have very impressive performance.
When talking about performance, there's a reason why a lot of creators are going for gaming laptops. Now, what's going for gaming laptops usually is better cooling, and better cooling means better performance. It depends what you're doing though as a creator. In my workflow, I do a lot of video editing in Premiere Pro, and Premiere Pro loves to use a lot of CPU. And if you've got a fast CPU, your program will feel much more responsive and snappy. Not to say that the GPU is not important, it is, especially the 50 series here that gives us H.265 and H.264 10-bit 422 codec support on the hardware level, meaning your timeline performance will be super smooth. Now, if you're editing in DaVinci Resolve, then this is a program that loves to take all the advantage of your GPU. And usually, the better the GPU, the better performance you're gonna get. But again, if you've got a fast CPU like this AMD Ryzen AI 370HX with 12 cores and 24 thread, it keeps up with the GPU and feeds the workload really nicely to the GPU.
Okay, I have DaVinci Resolve open here and I'm just showing you the timeline settings. They're Ultra HD 4K settings, 24 frames per second, but that doesn't matter as much. But this here is H.265 422 10-bit 60 frames per second footage that usually is very hard to play back, and I'll show you that usually what happens in a minute. But look at that right now. I'm browsing through the footage and it's buttery smooth. And if I'm looking at if I just leave this playing, if I'm looking at our GPU, as you can see, the decoding is happening on the GPU in there. But now I've got Premiere Pro open, exactly the same clip here, exactly the same thing. We've got 4K 60 frames per second, H.264 10-bit 422. This is what usually is hard to play back. So now, because I've set the playback on software, which means it's not hardware accelerated, it's on a CPU.
So just to reiterate, right now, the AMD Ryzen AI9 HX370 CPU is playing back the footage.
And look what happens now. If I'm gonna press play, look how slow it is, first of all. And then when we go into here, you can see that our GPU is not decoding this, but our CPU is basically 100% used and utilized. The impressive thing is, because of the Ryzen 12 cores, it's still brutal forcing through with dropping 0 frames at full resolution playing that back, which is actually unheard of. Usually I'm even dropping frames on Threadripper, but this is pretty impressive here. But that's why very important when you're doing video editing, make sure that your hardware is set on the correct settings so you get the most optimal and smooth playback when editing in DaVinci Resolve or Premiere Pro.
Here's the thing, the 240Hz actually is a really nice feature for creators as well, because your timeline will feel very smooth, because the 240Hz makes the whole use of the laptop very snappy and fluid. You just got to try it.
Now, I can't tell you how nice the interface is when you've got 240Hz. The actual timeline bit there, that little bar, it just feels like your editing is so much faster just because it's 240Hz. It's insane. So I'm here editing the thumbnail for this MSI laptop video, and I actually forgot my presets for the Lightroom Classic. But the cool thing is I've wirelessly tethered to my NAS, and I'm going to download them from the office. There are some other nice features about this laptop. In terms of the weight, this here is actually slightly lighter than the MacBook Pro 16-inch, believe it or not. Even though looking bulkier, it's lighter. This keyboard here is actually quite an interesting one. It's obviously partnered with the Steel series, so if you are a gamer, you probably know what's going on here. But behind this laptop, there is addressable RGB, and each key is addressable, meaning you can go completely bonkers with the RGB and customization with the keyboard on the Steel series app. And regarding the security, the TPM 2.0 module is pretty bog standard these days, but on top of that, you've got a fingerprint reader and Windows Hello, which is facial recognition for signing into Windows, if you didn't know that. Now, when configuring this laptop, when you actually want to buy this, I'll leave the links in the description below. There are a few tips that I personally would actually give you. Number one, upgrade the RAM to the maximum possible that your budget allows and what the laptop configuration allows, which is 64 gigabytes. Because it's soldered on, you can upgrade in the future. As a creator, 64 gigabytes, I believe, is a much better option than 32. Especially knowing the power of this laptop, you don't want the RAM to be the bottleneck. Feel free to leave your angry comments about the RAM shortage and about Sam in the comment section below. No, not you, Sam. The other Sam, who caused the RAM shortage. Now, you've noticed I've said quite a lot of good things about this laptop. Let's conclude. In terms of performance, CPU and GPU, honestly, I've got nothing bad to say. It is impressive. In fact, a lot of you might be saying that, oh, you're gonna say something about the noise about this laptop. I tested the noise compared to MacBook Pro. Honestly, it's impressive. Or MacBook is not impressive because it makes slightly less noise at full fan utilization compared to MacBook Pro. If we're doing the same task, MacBook is louder. And the display of this is 10 out of 10. It's absolutely fantastic. The 240Hz is kind of a huge cherry on the cake that we creators can take advantage of, and once you get used to it, it's really hard to go back. But as always, I haven't found the perfect laptop, so what about this one then? There are a few things as a creator that I would like from this laptop. Number one, SD card slots. I think that's a must. I don't like to bring dongles with us, so obviously gamers, you probably don't have anything to do with the SD card slot, but I would like to have it in there. In terms of ports, I'd like to have more USB-C ports. There's only one USB-C, which is USB 4. It is fast, but it's only one. The speakers of this laptop, even though having 6 speakers, not very impressive. When testing the sound, I wasn't impressed at all. I guess the argument is, how much do you actually use the laptop speakers rather than your headphones when you're working in the coffee shop when you're taking it with you? I don't know. Then in terms of the looks, I love the stealth look, but the laptop is very big a fingerprint magnet. So I've tried to clean this multiple times, but as you can see. And my last nitpicking complaint is about the touchpad. And this is not just about this laptop, but pretty much every single Windows laptop out there. Why haven't we conformed to haptic touchpad already? Why are we using the diving board touchpad? I would love Windows laptops all to just get the haptic touchpad, make it perfect, because that would make the usability of the laptop just on a whole other level. Now this here is not a bad touchpad actually. There's lots of fingerprint shortcuts like 4 fingers up and down, and it works very, very seamlessly. and I don't actually mind using it. It's very nice. It's got a soft touch. I'm kind of talking to all the manufacturers out there. Why not haptic? All of that being said, I think this is a very interesting laptop, and I'm glad that MSI wanted us to check this out because I'm impressed. If you're getting this also for creative applications, you're going to be surprised. It can keep up with a lot of it. Stealth makes sense.
Again, I want to say huge thanks to MSI and AMD for giving me the opportunity to check out another amazing device. Can't wait to see what they're going to do in 2026.
Thanks guys for watching. I'll see you next time.